guys, and welcome back to Knit Grid. So in today's video we're going to go over how to make these really cute plush whales. On my channel I'm known for these cute little whales. I've used different eyes than what I usually do, but I have a tutorial on how to do this basic little amigurumi whale. I have some redos just from like people's questions and comments in other videos saying, hey, can you make this a bit more clear? So that's what a lot of my revamps are, the 2020, 2022, like different version of the same whale video is basically just me explaining how to do things. And it's essentially the same pattern. However, I'm going to be working with some super plush, super bulky yarn, and I found these super cute eyes. How can you not? They move a little bit, but honestly, like, it's the cutest thing ever, and so I decided I wanted to do a tutorial on how to make this. I might do plush versions of all my basic amigurumi patterns. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see. I also have these eyes. These are so cute. They're 30mm little eyes that are on this whale that are super cute. They look like the new Beanie Baby eyes that they do, which I think are really adorable. You could also easily transfer this pattern and make it into a shark, which is what I did here for the plush version. I also ended up making a strawberry version. Let me know if this is something that you would like to see. Again, the 30mm eyes, tell me those are not perfect. But yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be working on today. So let's go ahead and get started. So for this project, you will need a super bulky weight yarn. I'm using loops and thread. This is comparable to the Bernay blanket yarn. I really like this specific yarn. I prefer the Bernay blanket, but I also really like the colors that the loops and threads come in. I've seen these over at Michael's. I don't know if those are regional to you, but basically any super bulky weight yarn will do. You're also going to need a crochet hook that goes in line with what your yarn calls for. This one calls for an 8mm, however, I crochet fairly tightly, so I'm going down to a 6.5. If you find that your loops are too big, typically you want to size down. If you find that they are too small, typically you'll want to size up. So that looks like, oh, hey, I'm using a 6.5, but all of my stitches look way too tight together. You'd want to go up to a 7.5 or even higher depending on what you want to do. Do some test swatches, do stuff like that. Same thing if your stitches are just way too loose, try going down. So say you've got an 8mm, try going down to a 6.5. I tend to like my stuff looking a little bit tighter because it makes it so that you can't see the stuffing on the inside. You will also need a stitch marker. I tend to use my tails for most amigurumi. However, with plush yarn, the ends tend to pluff off, and I don't like that, so I do like using a stitch marker. You're also going to need a darning needle if you have one with a bigger eye to help with the largeness of this yarn. That works. However, this is what I've got, so this is what I'm going to be using. You can also use some fairly sizable eyes. So this is a really cute eyeball I got for these little sleepy looking whales. I also recently just came across these 30mm eyes, and they look like the Beanie Baby eyes. They're a little bit cheaper. You can tell they came in this giant bag and they're all kind of loose, and so you can kind of tell they're cheaper, but honestly for just a cute little amigurumi project, it works really well. These are 30mm. I will link everything down below. So if you want to go to my Amazon storefront, also help support the channel that way, you can go over there. This is super cute. See what I mean by, like, it's really, it fluffs off. So just try to keep that in mind with your yarn. But basically, I'm using this really pretty blue color, and I'm using a white color for the belly. And that's pretty much, I use some scissors too. Using some scissors. Oh, and some stuffing. I'm using some that I got from Hobby Lobby. It's my favorite stuffing, but any stuffing will do. Alrighty, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to get started, we're going to be working with our plush yarn. There's a couple things that I want to say before I really start this video. So plush yarn is kind of a different animal from worsted weight regular cotton yarn, which is what I used to make my original Amigurumi whale. This is essentially the same pattern, I just go around the body a little bit more. So if you are having a hard time seeing the stitches in this plush yarn, I would definitely recommend my 2022, I want to say I did one in 2022 video. I'll link it down below either way. Tutorial for this pattern. You can see the stitches a bit more easily in that versus what the plush yarn will be. I'm still going to show how to do the stitches and go over the pattern. It just, you might be able to see the stitches easier. And the main difference is on this pattern I go around 4 or 5 times, and then this one I go around 6 to add that extra height because plush yarn. That's the big thing, is that whenever I'm working with plush yarn, I typically just tend to go around the body and add more height when it comes to that. And that's basically how I transfer my plush yarn patterns from my cotton patterns, basically. So another thing about plush yarn, and I find it's less with the blanket yarn that I have, but for the loops and threads, definitely, a lot of plush yarn has a tendency to just kind of flake off and fall apart, and I don't like that, but I really like this color yarn and I still want to try to give it a go. So we're going to be working with this. You just have to be a bit more tender with your plush yarn than you would with your cotton, where this is super strong. This one is not so much, and it just kind of fluffs everywhere essentially. So for this, you are going to need to be comfortable with chaining, connecting your chains, single crocheting, working in the round, following just a general pattern. I will have a nice little chart that'll pop up here fairly regularly of what the base of the head looks like. I also have one for what the tail looks like, just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. And yeah, that's pretty much it. For this, we're going to create a slip stitch. So we're going to go around and grab and pull. And again, I show this in more detail in my Amigurumi 101. So if you're ever confused by any of these terms, I'm going to try to go slow, but not too slow so that I can actually get this tutorial going. And I like to create fluff, apparently. I like to create a nice 12-inch tail when I'm working with this, because I am going to be working with my plush yarn in the first couple of rows. So I'm going to be working with my tail in the first couple of rows, just trying to include that there. So now we're going to move that out of the way. We're going to put this onto our 6.5 hook very, very gently, because you can see it's just the loops and threads. I don't know if it's just all plush yarn. I know the blanket yarn has a little bit less damage that will happen to it just by touching it, basically, but we're going to, for the plush yarn, I'm not going to do my magic ring like normal. I'm going to chain 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. You're also going to need to know how to increase and decrease as well, which again I will show, and I show in detail in my original video. So if you need to see what these stitches look like, because as you can see with the plush yarn, you can't really make out what the stitches are. Keep your tail in front, wrap and pull through, connecting your first chain to your 4th chain. We're going to then chain 1 again, and now we have this little tiny hole here in the center of that. Essentially, you can go right in the middle of it. I'm keeping my tail in the front, and in this hole, we're treating this as our magic ring. We're going to keep our tail in front, and we're going to single crochet 6 inside of this hole. So 1, you can see where the divot is, go back in, 2, trying not to hold it so taut that you like damage the yarn, but also give it a little bit of attention to it, 3, and you'll be able to see and kind of do this a bit more easily. See, there's a more identifiable hole the more you go into it there, 4, 5, and see how my tail's kind of being kept in the front. This will help tie that up a little bit in just a second. And 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. Now take your tail and very lightly tug on it. That'll pull you nice and closed there. We're also going to keep our tail in the front, and with plush yarn, not with amigurumi. With amigurumi, you'll typically remember if you've seen any of my videos, I like to go through the front loop only. It creates this nice little bubble effect on your amigurumi. For plush yarn, I can't really get away with that. It just doesn't feel as structurally sound with this yarn. This yarn is really tough and can go through front loop only. I tend to just go through both loops. If I went through the front loop only, it would look like that, but it's just, I find that it doesn't look right with my amigurumi, and you can see through the stitches a bit easier. It just doesn't look quite as right. So what we're going to do is keep our tail in the front, go through both loops, and we're going to increase every single stitch. We're going to be going from 6 stitches, same stitch right there, up to 12. So that is taking that 1 stitch and putting 2 stitches inside of it, and we're going to do that the entire way around. And with our tail kind of being a pain in the butt and being in the way, but we're keeping that just in the center of those stitches. If you just want to like split the difference of your stitch there, we're going to keep just the tail in front. It helps hide the tail and makes it so it doesn't unravel in the future, like on the inside at all. 1, 2. So now we're on the 3rd stitch. Right there, I kind of just do it by feel, but you can kind of see the little bumps on the backs of the stitches. That might help some people figure out where their stitches are more. I will say a big thing that I don't like about plush yarn, and people always say, oh, it's great for beginners. It's not. You can't see your stitches personally, in my opinion. I think it is fairly difficult. Yes, it is larger, and you get more done a bit more quickly, but I have a hard time seeing my stitches, and I'm a fairly seasoned crocheter at this point, I like to think. And yeah, I don't think it's very beginner friendly. I think if you're going to be teaching someone how to crochet, using a worsted weight that is lighter in color is probably going to be your best choice. We're going to go into, I think we're on the 2nd from last stitch. Hold on. Go in and see, like, it's pretty difficult to work with. So if you find that your yarn is fraying, I definitely would try the Bernay blanket yarn instead of loops and threads or something from the Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree stuff just crumbles. I won't even use it, honestly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We got one more. That's what I thought. Right there. Keep the tail in front using this right here and putting 2 stitches inside. What I like to do then is I like to kind of just tug on my tail a little bit, just keep it a little bit less like that. We're going to keep our tail to the back. I'm going to find my stitch marker somewhere. And we're going to put a marker on that stitch. This is where I like to keep it, and then I'm going to keep my tail in the back. I like to keep it long just in case there's any kind of issues. Keep it right there, call it good. You don't have to if you don't want to, but that's pretty much what I do. Next stitch, and you can see this is 1 stitch, this is another stitch. As you make it larger, it's easier to see the stitches, but when you first start out, it's kind of hard. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 stitches right there. We're going to be going on to round 3 now, where we single crochet 1, so putting 1 stitch inside the next stitch, and then put 2 in the next one, like so. 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. 1, and the next stitch place an increase. And I kind of just let, if you're having a hard time finding your next stitch, I always try to just let my hook kind of find it by gently going right to the left of it. So 1, next one, 2, next 1, 2nd from last one, 2, and then the last increase repetition, so 1, and then 2. We're going to take our stitch marker and go up with it. I like to just go through the center of my last stitch for that to kind of show where I'm supposed to be. We're now going on to round 4 of our increases. I can do numbers. And so on a lot of my whale amigurumis, I'll show this, but for a beginner-friendly thing, you're essentially just increasing the space by 1 every time you increase, and we're trying to get up to 30 stitches. A way that you can do that is just single crochet 2, increase, single crochet 2, increase, and the next one would be single crochet 3, increase, single crochet 3, increase, and so on and so forth. Every single round you're just adding a space between your increases by adding 6 stitches every single round until you get to the 30 that you want, or whatever size that you want. Say you want a bigger whale, you could very easily just keep adding 6 stitches every single round until it is the width that you want, and then just go around for as many times as you want in order to get it to the height that you want. That's essentially what I'm doing here. But for this, I like to do something, when I'm doing that, I like to do something called staggering my increases versus stacking my increases. Right now, so far, we have just stacked our increases. So I went from an increase, single crochet 1, increase, and then the next step would be single crochet 2, and then increase, single crochet 3, and then increase, single crochet 4, and then increase. But a way that I like to do it instead, you can, completely valid. If that's the only way that you want to do it, that's fine. It doesn't make a huge difference. I just find that when I'm working on things, it does make a difference to then stagger my increases. That means on this one, where I have an even number of spaces between my increases, so single crochet 2 and increase, instead I want to single crochet 1, increase, single crochet 1. This staggers how the increase shows up on your amigurumi, and I find that it makes it look a little bit less hexagonal. It looks a bit more rounder when you stagger your increase. And again, I have an entire tutorial on how I stack versus stagger, but and again, I'll link that down below in the doobly-doo. But for right now, I'm just going to single crochet 1, increase, and single crochet 1. And if you just want to single crochet 2 and increase, that is perfectly fine. That is all you really need to do. Our goal is essentially just to add evenly across the base of this 6 stitches for this round. So again, we're going to single crochet 1 and increase, and single crochet 1. So you can see on the second repetition, this is an increase and this is an increase. There's still 2 stitches between our increases, but our other increases over here makes it so they don't just stack up and make this line that kind of just goes hexagonal on us. So that's why I like to do the staggering method. It makes it look a bit more round, and it hides your line and makes it so the stuffing is a little bit more hidden, in my opinion. So we're going to, again, single crochet 1, increase, single crochet 1, single crochet 1, increase, single crochet 1, pull on our yarn a little bit and try not to send the whale flying, single crochet 1, increase, single crochet 1, and now we're on our final repetition. So 1, increase, and 1. Again, taking our stitch marker off, taking this on. Usually I use my tail for stitch marker, but because this frays so much, I don't want this going back and forth inside. You can usually just take your tail and like kind of pull it through as a stitch marker instead. I don't like doing that with this yarn. I typically will use a stitch marker, or I'll just count in my head because usually they go pretty fast. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. We are now on round 5, and we're going to single crochet 1, 2, 3, increase, and notice that it is offset on the increase from the previous round. Again, that was done on purpose. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 1, 2, 3, and increase. No, increase. There we go. I dropped it off my hook. 1, 2, 3. So what's nice about crochet is it's a bit more forgiving than knitting, which I like. 4 and increase. 1, 2, 3, increase, 1, 2, 3, increase, and our final repetition, 1, 2, 3, and boop, increase. Again, we're going to move our stitch marker very gently, trying not to just destroy this yarn. And so now for the next 6 rounds, we're going to build up the height of this whale. We're maintaining the 30 stitches that we just increased to, and we're going to just single crochet around and around and around and around and around and around and around for 6 rounds. So just maintaining and single crocheting across all those. We're not increasing anymore. At the end of this, you should have 30 stitches. I fall short of like basically two stitches at the very end on my 6th round. I just don't do those last 2 stitches, and that's where I do the tail. And I will be right back as soon as I get those stitches done. I'm not going to do all, I don't know, 30 times 6, 180 stitches that would be on camera. And yeah, we're gonna go do all those, just single crocheting around for 6 rounds, basically until it is the height that I want it to be. All right, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so we've gone down our 6 rounds, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and next up we're going to stop right before we finish, like 2 stitches before the end of our 6 rounds around, and we're going to make a little tail, which I think is going to be really cute. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to skip the first chain from our hook and go into the 3rd chain that we created. So skip that 4th chain that we made. That's basically just a little like kind of turn around point, and go into that 3rd one. We're going to single crochet inside, go into the 2nd chain that you created, again single crochet 1, and then go into the last one, which is always going to be the tightest one for some reason, even though I always do it loose. Drives me batty, pretty sure. There we go. So then what I like to do is I like to go through and slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we're going to repeat that same process and create another side for this tail. So chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go into the 3rd chain that you created, go down it, go into the 2nd chain, if you can, holy moly, and go down and go into the 1st one that you made right there, the very 1st one. And then we're going to slip stitch into the secondary one right there and call that good. I like to leave a nice long tail, and again, this stuff likes to just be destroyed like that. So we're going to be very gentle about it and pull very gently. I'm always gentle with plush yarn. It is very sensitive, and there you go. What I like to do next is I take my hook and push it from behind and pull that tail through, and I like to hide that tail again on the inside of my whale body right there. Next up, I'm going to show you how we finish this off, and we're going to be working through the back loop only for our little belly here. All right, be right back. All right, so we're gonna work on the belly. I'm making my belly white. You can do whatever color you want, but if you want like the traditional little whale, I typically use white on my bellies. I did do a rainbow belly once, which was really cute, but here we are. I'm gonna use some white, and I'm using the exact same brand. I try not to mix brands when I'm working on a project, because mixing brands can, I don't know if any of you have ever noticed that even though it says it's super bulky, that can mean different things across brands, and it drives me batty. I mean, even not across brands. If it's just like a different version of a yarn and it says worsted weight, some of it looks super thick and some of it looks super thin, and it drives, again, batty. We need better terminology for our measuring system for the weights of yarns. I don't know, it's just a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this white yarn, we're going to take our crochet hook, and I kind of just try to force it into the center here on the like back ridge in between our tail. This is where we're going to start. So I'm going to leave, again, an obnoxiously long tail. I'm always scared, especially with plush yarn, that it's going to rip off and then I'll have no tail. So what I'm going to do is snatch it like that. I went through and grabbed that yarn, pull it through, and then chain. We're then going to take this tail and kind of smush it into the belly. Again, just extra base there. And what we're going to do is, this is the only part of this pattern where I'm going to go through the back loop only. I'm going to go into the first stitch next to where my tail is, and we're going to push that tail down so you can actually see the stitch. And we're going to go through the back loop only. So this is the front loop right here. This is the back loop right here. And we're going to put a single crochet inside every single one of these. So again, back loop only. That creates a little tiny ridge like so, which I think looks really nice. Even in plush yarn, I still can't get over the ridge when it comes to that. So we're going to go around the entire way and show how we do some decreasing right afterwards. Okay, so we have gone around 29 times, and what we're going to do for that 30th stitch, because we need 30 stitches, we're going to again try not to rip our yarn. It's very fragile. We're going to go back into the very first stitch and single crochet, and that's going to be our 30th stitch. I tend to do the 30th and the first and the last just because of the way that it always kind of works up. As long as you end up with 30 stitches at the end of this round, you are fine. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go inside our first stitch from that round. We're going to actually take this little stitch marker off, kind of wiggle it so it's not bad. And what we're going to do is put that on our first stitch of this round. I like to put in my crochet hook as I go and try not to take all of my innards out. There we go. That doesn't sound weird, but it's fine. We're going to single crochet one, go into the next stitch. Oh, hello, Loki. 2, 3, and then for these, instead of going through both loops to decrease, we're going to go through just the first loop on the next 2 stitches, and we're going to decrease every 4th and 5th stitch together. So single crochet 1, 2, 3, and decrease. Alrighty, you want out. Cat decided it was out time. Okay, so again, that is single crocheting 1, 2, 3, 1 stitch in every single one of those stitches, so 1, 2, and 3, and then 4 and 5, trying not to rip our yarn, together. See how that's the first loop of that one and the second loop of that one? Put those together. And again, if you want to see what that looks like, sans plush yarn and just with normal yarn, I do have an Amigurumi 101 playlist where you can look and see how that looks. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're going to continue this all the way until the end of the round, which I'm just going to speed through. And that is our final decrease right there. On our next round, what we're going to do is we're again going to stagger our decreases. So what we're going to do is single crochet 1, decrease those 2 stitches together, and then single crochet 1. And again, if you get too frazzled with trying to do the staggering, you can stack and just single crochet 1, 2, decrease all the way to the end. I just like to stagger them because I find that it makes it look a little bit more seamless and a little bit more invisible as you go. I'm going to pull out a little bit more yarn, and again, that will make it so that we have an even number between our decreases. So single crochet 1, decrease 1, 2 together, and then decrease. It still leaves us with 2 stitches between our decreases here and here. Those are single crochet 1, decrease, single crochet 1, but we still have 2 single crochets between our decreases, which is the goal. So we're just going to continue to single crochet 1, decrease, and single crochet 1, and we're going to continue that all the way down to the end. All right, so I'm going to leave that be and try not to pull on it too much. And here we have reached the point where we are at 18 stitches. So what I like to do here is I'm going to make a decision on what I want to do for eyes. I think I'm just going to do these eyes, though I could, again, choose to do those really cute Fribby eyes. Fribby? No, not Fribby. Beanie Baby eyes. They're really cute. I do like them quite a bit, but I have 2 others that have these eyes on them, and with these 2, I think that this goes really well with that, and I could do like a triple pair where they all kind of look the same, so I'm going to do that. And so what we're going to do is, I think I evenly spaced it by like 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 stitches from the tail. Like, it's right on the tail here that I'm counting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 space there. Try to give a good amount of room for the eye right there. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put that eye right around there. Whatever works for you. Honestly, that's about even for me, and I like to go 1 above, 2 rows above the white line right there. So again, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're gonna put that right there. We're gonna cap it on and make sure that that looks all beautiful. I try not to do it too tight because it can mess things up a little bit. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ish. No, 1 more over. That way I can make sure that it is even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go, equidistant. My main thing is it doesn't super matter where you put the eyes as long as they are even on both sides. I also like to leave enough room where I can make my little fin on the side of his body. And at this point, now that I've put on the eyes, we are going to start with our stuffing, and I have a crap ton of it, so we're just going to do a little speed through. My main goal with stuffing is I kind of start stuffing on the outsides like so, and try to make sure that I get it around the eyeballs. That way it doesn't like, it gets weird if you don't like stuff around the eyeballs first. Makes the eyeballs look kind of warped and weird, and I like to start on the outside and kind of push it inward like that. I don't know. I'm going to speed through this though, just to make sure that we don't spend forever on this. All Alrighty, so now I've got it about 90% of the way there, and honestly, I like to kind of do a little bit more decreasing before I finish it off the entire way. So what we're going to do is put our hook back on, try to not make it so loosey-goosey, and now we are at the point where we're going to single crochet 1, and then decrease. We're going from 18 stitches down to 12. So again, that's decrease. Try to avoid getting your stuffing in with your work. It's a little annoying, but it helps a lot to not have you crochet your stuffing in with your yarn. It looks just a little weird. And decrease, and you notice after doing the stitch, it is obvious that there needs to be a little bit more stuffing. So what we're going to do is just that. We're going to stuff it. I like to try to round it around the edges there. That way it's a little bit harder for me to crochet my stuffing into my work, because I always am constantly doing that, and I don't know if anybody else is doing that when they're working, but I know that I constantly will do that 100%. We're going to continue to try to like just kind of cup it underneath and just make it look generally nice. I tend to overstuff versus understuff, which I know I'm not the best at stuffing when it comes to amigurumi. I can make a stitch look gorgeous with the best of them, but stuffing, which I know can make or break the shape of your amigurumi, I'm never really good at it. I never have been, but we are all learning, and this is just how I do it. So if you stuff better, then go for it. Tell me how you do it in the comments down below. Alrighty, so that's about almost there. On the very last ones, I tend to ball it and try to like kind of just roll it underneath and kind of make it flat, if that makes sense. We're now going to decrease every single stitch. So we're going to go down from 12 down to 6 and try not to rip our yarn as we do it, because I'm trying to do this a little bit more tight, but not so tight, or taut is really the word I want to use, but not so taut that it rips it. You can tell that with how much I've stuffed it, it wants to rip. But we're not going to let it. We're going to go very gentle and be patient with it. This is our third decrease. I'm trying to keep track. And I close up my amigurumi, so we're going to decrease 5 times. And then on the last stitch, I'm going to show you what we do, or what I do, in order to finish off. Oh, come on, buddy. Just go into that stitch. There we go. 4, and this is our 5th stitch. So we're going to try to get it into the first 2 loops for that 5th stitch. And now for our final stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to skip that last stitch and go into, or that second from last stitch, and go into our very last stitch. That decreases, while also we're going to slip stitch off like so. So that slips off. We're going to make an obscenely long tail, like a foot long, because again, I would rather have too much of a tail than not nearly enough. So we're going to do that. We're going to pull that through, tug it just ever so lightly, not enough to rip, because again, plush yarn, she is a fragile. We're going to put that onto a darning needle, which we saw earlier, and we're going to close off like I do my normal amigurumi. We're going to go through the front of the loop on every single stitch, and if this is easier for you to see through my Amigurumi 101 playlist, I do show how I do this with my worsted weight yarn. We're going to then, on our last one, go through like so, and very lightly tug, and that should pull it all in. We're then going to go through a couple times just to give ourselves a nice long tail on the inside of this whale. We're also going to take this off real quick because I don't need it. we're all done with that, so that can come right off. I like to go through a couple times at a couple different angles just to leave a nice long tail in case things do eventually unwind. So like that, I just go through like leaving lots of length inside of my whale, just in case, you know, just in case something comes undone. And this will be my last one because that'll leave me like a good couple lengths across my whale. We're gonna then clock that off and try to take care of all the 5 million things of plush yarn everywhere. And then we're gonna move on to, that's our nice closed up belly. And we're gonna move on to the little fins, and that's it. This is pretty much almost all done. It's all coming together. Be right back for the fins. Okay, so now we're working on the fins, and you'll note that when we were going from blue to white, we ended up using just the back loop only. That back loop is going to become very useful. That front loop that we did not use, the one that is laying down flat here, you see how there's kind of that ridge of all those front rows that are laid down flat. We're going to use that in order to make our fins right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the center between our eyeball and our tail, our center of the fin of the stitch right here that is laying down. We're going to go through that one and just kind of pick it up with our hook. We're then going to create again a nice long tail for sewing later on. This is super easy. What we're going to do is I'm going to kind of hold it flat with my finger right there so it doesn't move. We're going to wrap and pull that through with a little slip stitch and slip. We're then going to go back inside that laying flat loop and we're going to single crochet 3 times. So 1, same loop, 2, same loop, 3 as we squeak the eyeball, and then we're going to go back in and we're going to slip stitch off like so. Oh, no. There we go, like so. And again, leaving absurdly long tails. And we're going to do that on both sides. We're going to A, tug on that, and B, tug on this side as well. You'll notice that it kind of like whooped, like sucked right in there. What we're going to do is again not do that so tight that it decides it wants to break everything. You can do 3 or 4 stitches depending on how you want, like out there you want your fin to be. I think on these ones I did 3 as well, so I think that's pretty much what we wound up doing. We're gonna then go through and go underneath and tuck in our tails, and again just like that, go through a couple different ways just in case things decide they want to come undone later. So we're going to do that on both sides as well. So we're going to take this one and do the same exact thing. We've tucked on it, and we're going to go up and up. Take the piece of fluff that is flailing off the end of this string and over. And that is it for your little fin. We're going to do that on both sides. And tuck and cut our tail and get rid of all the excess fluff that is just laying around. I think I may have overstuffed my little buddy here, but he's also still cute and it still works out, and that's the beauty of Amigurumi, is it's not always going to be the same every single time. So yeah, I overstuffed him, but he's fine. He's beautiful. He's just like his little brothers, and I think he's adorable. So that's pretty much it. As soon as you finish cleaning that up and you have your little fins on the side, that is all there is to this cute little Amigurumi whale. Let me know if you want to see a cute little plush version of my strawberry whale. I'm also thinking I might end up doing a cute little plush version of the octopus as well. Let me know if that's something that you would like to see. I think that's adorable. Or if you want to see something like, say, my cute little mini frog, or anything else that I've done on this channel. If you want to see a cute little plush version of it, let me know what you think and what you'd like to see in the future. That is pretty much all there is to this tutorial, and let me know what you guys think of these cute little eyes. I think they're super adorable, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Alrighty. Until next time, guys. Bye!